Well, let's do this, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the documentary and football and Jerry and your experience here. America's Team, the Gambler and his Cowboys on Netflix, and our special guest, the last coach in Dallas to win a Super Bowl. Just 30 years ago, Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with the Dallas
1995,
Cowboys,
yeah, it's been a while.
1995 season. So you're featured in the documentary. You sat down and were interviewed extensively and shared a lot of interesting stories and perspective, and like to delve a little deeper into that. First of all, what did you think of the documentary when you watched it?
Well, I was shocked I have a beard on. I forgot I had a beard. I got a hell of a lot more beard than you got. And I was surprised about that because I'd forgotten that was a couple of years ago. Jerry asked me to come down and do this Netflix series for him, and I said, sure, I'll be happy to do it. And I said, they're going to pay me? And they said, yeah, they'll pay you. I said, okay. I came down and brought my daughter with me, and I came down here and spent a couple of days. I stayed at the mansion and came over here at, I forgot where, no, we went to some studio, Netflix set up in, and we shot there for a couple of days, about 8 hours a day. I enjoyed it. It's fun bringing back old memories, the questions they asked. I enjoyed it other than flipping the guys off because that was supposed to be not on film. The guy was a Longhorn. He said something about that being a Longhorn. I just gave him, because we'd cut and filming is over with. So I flipped him off, and then they left it on the damn intro. And I said, Jerry, why'd you do that to me? I'm really upset by that. And but anyway, I watched it, and
yeah, what was that experience like watching it?
I found out things I did not know happened. I did not know about Michael's part. I knew about the drug infractions, but I didn't know about having a hit on him, all these things that came out. I'm kind of shocked by it. I knew about the White House because it made the newspapers when I was here. And I remember the experience of that. I'll never forget, Jerry and I called the guys in, called Michael in to talk to him about the White House and why they would do something like that. And you know what Michael's answer was? It's a perfect answer. And I was sitting there with Jerry, and when Michael says this, I turned to look at Jerry and I shook my head. Michael said, Coach, Mr. Jones, we were trying to do the wrong thing the right way. My God, what an answer. You know, they thought they were keeping it out of the private, out of the public eye.
Very discreet.
Yeah, being very discreet. And yet the media finds out about it. All you guys on the other side, you find out about it and publicize it and all. And it makes the paper. At least they weren't hanging out at the Gentlemen's Club and all that, and all out in the middle of where everybody can see them and be a part of it, but trying to do the wrong thing the right way.
There was a lot of that at the time.
Oh, yeah, imagine.
Can you describe the first time you ever met Jerry Jones in your life?
I saw him as a 17-year-old freshman at the University of Arkansas. He was unique then. I remember when he was 18 years old at Arkansas, he was a freshman, and all the rest of the guys were drinking beer, hanging out at all the clubs in Fayetteville, and he was out selling whole life insurance policies in little towns all over North Arkansas and southern Missouri. And his daddy had an insurance company, an exotic charter, whole life company, and he was making money as an 18-year-old. And I said, this guy's wired up a little bit different. He's walking a different path than the rest of these guys, and he's proved that all along. Jerry told me a long time ago that he wanted to buy the San Diego Chargers when it was the USFL. He could have bought them for $2 million. But his daddy talked him out of it. Pat talked him out of it. And next day they merged with NFL. Next year they merged, and it was a $12 million franchise. He was always upset about that, missing out on that. But you know, Jerry made his. When I was coaching at OU, this is in the 70s, and a long time ago. And Jerry was there making his fortune in the oil and gas business first. He made a fortune in the oil and gas business. He's always been lucky. Jerry got out. He sold all his investments, all his properties, all his royalties, sold everything in the oil and gas business out about 2 weeks before Penn Square went under. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember Penn Square going under, which took down Continental Illinois, Seattle first. It was a disruption throughout the United States. It was a disaster. And the FDIC didn't handle it very well, but they took down a lot of people. And And a lot of people were certainly in Oklahoma caught up in it. But Jerry missed it. Just Jerry's luck. He just missed out. I said, Jerry, did you know Penn Square was going to go under? And he said, hell no, he didn't know about that. But he was so fortunate to get out. But then he drills that one well out there in California, brings $100 million out of it, and that gas well out there. He showed me that one day flying back from, where was it we worked in? We worked on the East Coast, the West Coast. We always went out there for spring. They always went out there for spring ball.
Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks. And we were coming back to Thousand Oaks. He flew me over that one time and showed me that well and all. But Jerry and I had a great relationship. Getting back to that, I had a great relationship with Jerry all through the 70s. Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm from Arkansas. I've spent time in Little Rock in his home there at nice home in Little Rock. And all my buddies we all played with at Arkansas. It was a good time. But I knew Jimmy too. Jimmy was on that team, and I coached Jimmy. I hired Jimmy. I got Jimmy Johnson his first job. I called him at Picayune, Mississippi. It was his first job of coaching. He'd gotten out of college, took a head job at Picayune, Mississippi, went 0-10. I called him. I said, put Marilyn in the car, put Chad and Brent, his kids, in there, and you drive to Wichita, Kansas, and a guy named Larry Lacewell is the defensive coordinator, and he'll hire you when you walk through the door. Well, Lacewell didn't know who he was. I knew who he was because I coached him in Arkansas. So he walks through the door and he hired him. And I thought that was kind of neat. And he got into coaching. And then we got Lacewell back at Oklahoma with us. And we did the defensive line coach when Pat James left us and went back to Birmingham, Alabama. He'd coached for Coach Bryant, played for him at Kentucky. So I said, well, we ought to hire Jimmy Johnson as a line coach. I called Jimmy and got him. Chuck Fairbanks didn't know who the hell Jimmy Johnson was, but Lacewell and I did, so we got him to come. They were all together with Johnny Majors at Iowa State, so they were all gathered up there in the 70s. And so it's a relationship business, and people and you trust in, or you wouldn't hire them if they were worth a damn, and so that's how we all
going back to when you first met Jerry. When he was 17, you mentioned he played on that national championship team at Arkansas. From a coaching perspective, how would you describe him as a player?
Well, none of us could play today, not one of us. And I was recruited as a linebacker. Back in that era, we had to play both ways. I did. I played in college football when you didn't have a face mask. And this is in the 50s, mid-50s. And next year we went to one single bar. Then went to the suspension headgear Riddell came out with. But that was a good era. Everything was defense and kicking game, then offense, third phase. And everybody quick kicked them, third down, played for field position. And you go back in the 50s and you look at scores, you'll see, 3-0, 7-0, 14-7. If you really beat someone 28-0, that was an ass kicking in those days. It's like half 100 on someone.
What did you think when you read or saw or were somehow informed that Jerry had bought the Dallas Cowboys?
I'll tell you exactly how it happened. I'm single. I'm at Oklahoma. I was single from 41 to 61, as I told you, and I'm living in a townhouse. I'd left OU in the end of the season '88, and I was there, and I've been offered some college jobs. I turned them down because none of them are good as OU was, and this was in 90.
He bought the team in '89. He bought the team in '89.
This is '89, right after I retired. So I get the phone call from Gil Brandt. I've known Gil Brandt real well. I know Tom Landry. I used to go when they were over on North Central Expressway in their old offices, the Cowboy offices. I used to go over there all the time. And I was coaching at OU then. But Gil Brandt calls me and he says, do you know a guy named Jerry Jones? And I said, yeah, I do. Why do you ask? And he says, well, he just paid $140 million for the Dallas Cowboys. And I saw it and I said, that didn't surprise me. I didn't know he had $140 million, but that didn't surprise me that he would. He said, what about him? I said, let me tell you, you, Tex Schramm, the whole bunch, better look for a job because Jerry's going to cut it to the bone. I promise you, if that thing is losing as much money as they said it was, he's going to run it himself, and he's going to do what necessary is to turn it around, and that's exactly what Jerry did, and he all had to find another job. So,
what was your reaction to him firing Tom Landry and hiring Jimmy?
You know what? Jerry tried to do the right thing. Jerry flew down there. Most people read it in there, the damn paper where they got their ass fired, or see it on TV, or read it in the radio, or wherever they hear it. Yeah, you get a phone call, you got fired. Jerry tried to do the right thing. He's never had to do this before. He flew down there to meet with Mr. Landry. He went in there to do what he thought was the right thing, and he's always been. And he always gets criticized for everything he did. You guys just want to beat up on him, just like I knew you all were going to beat up on my ass when I came down here. When I came down north of that red to south here, the Dallas Cowboys, when I walked in that first press meeting room, I looked around the room. I knew that guy was fair to me. That guy was fair to me. I knew that covering OU and Texas and all, I knew all these writers because having dealt with them all through the years at Oklahoma. But
did it shock you that he fired Tom Landry after 29 years?
No, not at all. No, not at all. He's going to get rid of everybody.
What about hiring Jimmy Johnson, a guy, as you said, you knew well?
Well, he was roommate. And back in that era, he roomed with Jimmy because Jones, Johnson.
Alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order on the road, travel on the road. So he knew Jimmy better than me. He had a short list. He only had 2 people on the list, Jimmy and me. I was in second place. S is way down there. I don't know how many people they had between. I don't doubt what they did. But no, I knew that Jerry and I had a relationship that I know that he had considered me, but I understood he hired Jimmy, but I didn't think anything about it till I all of a sudden, in 1994 and 93 and 4, especially 94, I got some calls from people here that played for me and worked with me at Oklahoma. John Blake was coaching here, played for me at Oklahoma, defensive line coach. Larry Lacewell, Larry and I had been together since we were 13 years old. He's from Fort Dodge, Arkansas. I was from Crossett, Arkansas, South Arkansas. We'd been in track meets together since 13 years old. But anyway, Larry calls me and says, there's not much love here in Camelot. Everybody thinks this is Camelot down here winning 2 Super Bowls back to back. I said, this thing's, this is not very good. He says, then John Blake called me and told me the same thing. And so I knew that there was some turmoil going on here. And so what happens is that I don't think anything about it. And then all of a sudden, they all go to the Breakers NFL meeting. It
was Orlando, yeah.
Yeah.
It was in Orlando.
All of a sudden, in the USA Today, there was an article came out that said Jerry Jones made a comment in the bar. Says, Switzer, if you don't think I won't fire his ass and hire Switzer, he's crazier than hell, or something like that. And it was in the paper. And it went everywhere. And people started calling me. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't read it. My kids called me. My kids were in college there at OU. And said, Daddy, did you see that? I said, no, I hadn't seen it. I read it. And I said, well, that's Jerry's upset. He said something that obviously, Larry Lacewell called me. He says, what happened was that Jerry went into the bar at wherever the hotel
I was there, yeah.
Were you there?
He grabbed me by the pants leg on the way out and said,
Okay.
You don't want to leave now. And I said, why not? And he said, you're going to miss the story of the year. And I said, what's the story of the year? And he said, I'm going to fire that blankety blank Jimmy Johnson.
This is why I brought it on. He went in there, he had bought a drink in there, and Lacewell knew who to hang with.
He was with Lacewell.
Well, yeah, I know. Lacewell will hang with Jerry. He going to hang with Jimmy. So Larry's smart. And so anyway, Larry's with Jimmy, and they get up, with Jerry, and they go in from the bar into the dining room, and all the coaches were sitting around the table having dinner. Jerry walks over the table, and he says, I want to make a toast to the best team coaching staff in the NFL. And we're getting ready to raise his drink up. And instead of all these assistant coaches, they don't reach out there and grab their damn drink, but they got to look over at Jimmy and see what his reaction is. And it's like they wouldn't do anything without they're looking at Jimmy. Well, they reach over and get the drink, and they look and see Jimmy just roll his eyes. Well, they don't pick up the drink. Jerry takes that drink, Laceville said, and hits that table, and everything flies everywhere. That glass flies everywhere. Hey, he storms out of there and goes back in, and that's when he pitched you on the ass and told you that you missed the story of the year. And Jerry called me a couple of days later, 2 or 3 days later. I had just had a colonoscopy this morning. No one forgets when they have a colonoscopy. I swear I'd had a colonoscopy that morning. All I wanted to do is sleep. And my girlfriend, who's my wife today, answered the phone. It rang about 8:30 in the morning, and she came in there and says, Becky, gymnastics coach at OU for 25 years, Olympian in '88, Seoul, Korea. She came in there and said, Barry says, Jerry Jones wants to talk to you. I said, I can't talk to him right now. I can't. I'm drugged up.
I'm still recovering.
I just had a colonoscopy. He ought to know if he's ever had one. So I'll call him this afternoon. I called him back this afternoon, and he says, you want to coach the Cowboys? And I said, I didn't know the job was open. He says, well, it's going to be open. Well, I said, call me when the job's open. So he calls me the next day and says, come on to Dallas. That was my interview. That was all the interview I had. And so I drive to Dallas. I call my kids and I tell them I'm going to Dallas. And so I came down here and stepped into a tough situation. I'm inheriting Jimmy's staff. Now think about that. Hey, the players are pissed off. Hey, they don't want to lose their coach. They've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. I can understand that. And I'm having to come in and inherit this situation. I don't know who's going to be loyal to me. I don't know if they have hidden agendas. I don't know what the hell's. If it hadn't been for John Blake and Larry Laceville, I would have been really tough to navigate the situation. So I stayed with John Blake for 2 months, and I lived with him and get to know everyone and evaluate everything. But I want to tell you a story that I told Netflix, and they didn't put it on there, which I'm going to tell you, and I don't want you to cut this out.
Okay.
The second day I'm at the Cowboys, Barbara Goodman, who's one, I don't know if she's still alive today or not. I knew she's in assisted living, but she's a great gal. She was Landry's secretary. She was Jimmy Johnson's, and now she's mine. And she was in there helping me get organized in the office that they all had. And about that time, Jerry walks in. And this was morning after the announcement, and we had the
big press conference. That was a big part of the doc.
So we come in, and she comes in, and Barbara, being the professional she is, she walks out and closes the door behind her. And there's me and Jerry in the office. Well, Jerry goes on, flops down in front of the desk, in front of Landry's desk, and Jimmy's desk, and now my desk, and I walk over and sit down behind it, and I look at Jerry, and Jerry looks at me, and he says, you know that contract you had yesterday? You signed? I said, yeah, I want you to tear it up. Oh, this is the shortest lived head coaching job.
You thought you were getting fired?
Yeah. Hell, I didn't know what he meant by that. So I didn't know what to think. He says, I said, why are you doing this, Jerry? He says, because I'm going to give you a better one. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm going to give you a better one. And he says, I'll get my attorney, my lawyer, and the people who worked on it yesterday, I'll get in touch with them, have your people get in touch with them, and they'll work it out. He didn't say another word. He gets up out of the chair and heads for the door. He got his back to me. He gets to the door, and I say, Jerry, I want to ask you a question. He turns around and says, why are you doing this? He stopped and turned around and said one of the most poignant things, I think, appropriate or whatever. I think everybody's been in this situation before in their life and understand it. If they have been in authoritarian positions, they understand this. He looked at me and he says, you know what? I got up this morning, I looked myself in the mirror, and I liked myself for the first time in a long time. I looked at him, I shook my head, I understood what he meant. And he walked on out the door. My dad said, Jerry, you want to wait another night on this? I said, no, this is all you get. This is all you'll get. I did say that to him too. But he left, and sure enough, he gave me another contract. It was better than the first one.
Wow, pretty amazing. What was that press conference like? You mentioned coming down, you knew a lot of the reporters in the room. You're inheriting a Super Bowl team with those expectations. This has never happened before in the NFL. A coach getting fired after winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
It wasn't my fact, and that's why I told the team. Hell, I didn't have a damn thing to do with it. I knew both of them. I'd coached both of them in Arkansas. I said, hey, that was their problem. I don't know what the hell it was. I'm sorry it happened to you guys. And Michael was upset because he was going through a contract negotiation. Michael was being Michael, and he gets up, walks out. I said, you know, guys, I said, I know a lot about winning. That's all I've ever done. I've never had a losing team. And I've worked with Jimmy and Jerry both, coached them, and then Jimmy was on my staff at Oklahoma, and before he left for Arkansas. And I said, you know, I'm sorry it happened for you guys, but we're going to keep this thing in the middle road and keep on doing it and take it on. Well, anyway, they'd hired Zampese, and I'm so glad they did, because Zampese was new too. So Zampese,
the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, offensive coordinator. So Ernie and I were on the same kind of situation. We were new to the staff. He was inheriting the staff, offensive staff certainly, and so we spent a lot of time together. I wanted him to teach me his little playbook. The playbook is going to run, which I liked. I thought it was very simplistic. Certain names of certain plays were split inside plays and tight inside plays, and it was really easily to communicate, and formations and plays and all that. But anyway, I was sitting in my office one day after about 2 weeks, and I told Jerry, I said, Jerry, you know, you bought this thing. You can come back here and sit in a meeting. I want you to keep your mouth shut. You don't know anything about what we're doing, game planning, or organization of the playbook, whatever we're doing, offensively, defensively. I don't want you to get involved in that. And he said, I'm not. I just like to see what's going on. He bought the team. He ought to be able to go anywhere he wants to in the damn place. So after about 2 weeks of this, Campese, Dave comes in my office, and I love Dave. Yeah, I love Dave Campbell. Dave walks in the office and says, I said, Barry, I want to tell you something. Jerry's a hell of a guy. He says, you know what? All the staff is new is what Jimmy told us he was. And he's not anything like what Jimmy said he was. And I looked at him and laughed, and I said, I told you so. Yeah, Jared's a good guy.
You had coached Troy briefly at Oklahoma. You recruited him. What was his initial reaction to this whole thing? I mean, he only knew one way to win in the NFL, and that was Jimmy's way. But
Jimmy's way.
He was familiar with you.
Well, the difference is it was the first transition he's ever had to make. You know, every coach inherits a staff, and every coach does it differently. Every coach has a different way and style. Some are screamers and hollers and coach with fear and all that. And I'm a real. I coach with positive influence. I try to get to know my players, spend time with them. I want them to know me more importantly, and it takes time to do that more so than going out in the field and acting out for a camera maybe. And I wasn't into that. Never have been. People tried to mic me up for games before, and I said, the hell with that. I don't want nothing to do with that. I want to be me when I'm on the sidelines, and I want to be an actor. And I see so many of them being actors. So on stage, God almighty. And you know what I'm talking about. You've seen them. And I wasn't that way. And I said, you know, you all have to get ready for my way and accept my way of doing things, and it's going to be that way. I saw Troy Aikman in high school. I said, he's got the it factor. I never seen a guy throw football like that in my life. And I said, my God, he was something. When we signed him and brought him in, we were going to change our offense. I had Marcus Dupree now. I had Keith Jackson, tight end. I had two pretty good receivers, wideouts. You know, I thought we were going to do that. Then Marcus leaves. So we're back to the wishbone. We go back to wishbone. Troy breaks his leg. And you know what? We would have won the national championship '85 if Troy hadn't got hurt too. And Jamel would have played, Troy would have played, both of them would have played, but we had a different package for Troy versus what the package we had with Jamel. But I understood Troy needed to be in an offense where he could throw his football, protect him and throw the football, because that was his forte. It wasn't running the football. And Troy is a big, tall, physical kid. He wasn't but 196 pounds, 196 pounds when he's playing for me as a freshman, and he ran a 4.65 40, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, he ran against Miami and Norman when we lost that one game. He ran 48 yards for a touchdown to call back on the option play. So, you know, he had the ability to make plays running the ball, but not like Jamel Holloway did. And
but he was a proven quarterback in the
yeah.
NFL, a two-time Super Bowl champion when you inherited.
You bet, you bet. Well, let me tell you, I'll tell you a story that proves this. I'm at the Hula Bowl coaching Tony Casillas. Tony Casillas, said, well, you're the best Mexican that ever played for me, but you're the only Mexican that ever played for me. You know, Tony was a great football player. Second player picked in the draft behind Bo Jackson, first defensive lineman to go in the draft. And we're at the Hula Bowl in the Aloha Stadium, high school over here. Teams alternated back and forth. And I always wanted to get the guys to the beach because I wanted to go to the beach too. So we always went in early. And we'll come back over to Aloha Stadium. And the other team's working out. They're doing their 7-on-7. And I walk in there, and all these 30, 40 scouts standing here, and I walk over the middle of them. I knew every one of them because every one of them came to Oklahoma. And I'm looking at this 7-on-7, watching this quarterback. And I said, is this guy the number one pick? And they said, yeah, he's the number one pick. Jeff George out of Illinois, or I don't know, Purdue, Illinois. And I said, well, guys, I got a sophomore at Oklahoma that's better than this guy. They all hoo-ha. They all laughed their ass off. They laughed like hell. And you know what? I said, well, by God, I do. I got a quarterback. I know. What do you know about talent? You're a wishbone guy. You don't know about pro quarterbacks. I said, I know talent, and I know I got a better.
Ends up being all
Hey,
back.
coach. When after 2 years later, all the same scouts came through Oklahoma, they all said, hey, coach, you're right. I said, you bet your ass I was right.
How did you look at the challenge of replacing Jimmy, inheriting his coaches, his players, and enormous expectations?
Tough job. I'm telling you, it was a tough job. I mean, it's a tougher job than I think any coach has ever had. What coach has ever had to come take on, inherit someone else's staff that's been with him through college, in the pros and all, most of them through college. Oh yeah, all that. And if we don't go out there against San Francisco, and out there it'd be down 21-0 the first 5 minutes of the game, then we fought back 21-14 the first half. We got a chance. We're back in the game now after being down 21-0 the first 5 minutes. And something happened you don't know. Ernie Zampese, we just gone and scored, 80-yard drive. We had 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go in the half. And I said, Ernie, run Emmett 3 times and we'll punt the football and the half's over and we're going to go to the locker room. We got the momentum. And, Ernie begging me, Coach, we just scored. Let's go. We can go get a field goal. Come on, we got enough time to go make this happen. I said, Ernie, the thing to do is run Emmett 3 times and punt the damn football if we don't make a first down. And I let him talk me into it. We throw 3 incompletions. We have to punt the football. They hit Jerry Rice on a fingertip catch going out of the end zone with no time left on the clock. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that play?
Yep.
You think I don't dog cuss myself all the way to the locker room? I'm cussing myself. You stupid son of a... You knew what to do. What you let someone that talk you into it when you knew what to do? It's my damn fault we're in the situation we're in now. You know? And I'll never forget telling Nate Newton and the offensive lineman, those guys, before we went back out for the third kickoff. Defense hadn't even been out there and played yet. We're down 21-0, and we're taking our 4th kickoff, and first 5 minutes of the game, and I turned to all those guys and I said, you know what's great about being down 21-0 with 55 minutes to go in the game? You know what's great about this? They all looked at me like it's crazy, and I said, because you got 55 minutes to get back in this son of a... And we did. If you'd been 21-0 with 5 minutes to go in the game, we had to just get on the bus and go home. But no, we had a chance because the ability and talent of the team. But
Yeah, Troy describes it as one of the games he's most proud of. A loss in an NFC Championship game is one of the, because of the heart everybody
hey,
showed.
down 21-0, come back, make it 21-14, 280-yard drives in a row. Hey, close the gap. Hey, I'll tell you what, San Francisco said, hey, they're coming back. But Merlin Hank gets a rebound fumble, running at the end zone. Eric Williams fumbles in front of our goal line. First play of the game, we throw an interception. Oh, geez, it was a nightmare. I could not believe what I was looking at out there. The worst performance we played all year is in the damn most important game. Anybody's going to beat San Diego for the Super Bowl.
And what do your critics have to say about that, what you just described?
Well, I don't give a I knew what happened and what the coaching got to do with turning fumbles over, throwing interceptions. Oh, boy, I tell you.
How hard did you take that loss?
I took it hard because we could have won the Super Bowl, and we had a chance against a great team. San Francisco was a great football team, yeah. And Steve Young, that bunch was really good. They were talented, do good on defense. But the next year, we got it done, and I was so happy for Jerry. I really was. I was more relieved than anything winning it for Jerry Jones, because he's, stuck his neck out there and did what all you media guys beat him up on and all. And I was just relieved and happy for him. And I knew when we lost Novacek and we lost Haley, as the air's pointing down. I came in the league as free agency just starting. Players were being siphoned off. It wasn't the same team. And players were being siphoned off. We were having to replace them. Probably not as good players as we were losing. And when Novacek, who's the best 3rd and 2 pass receiver in the league, because Troy, that play action, boom, that Novacek up in the air anywhere he wants to go, catch that ball. Him and Troy worked on that so much, it was automatic. First down, move the ball. And the philosophy of our offense was the same as it was for me at Oklahoma: run the football, run the football, run the football, run Emmitt Smith. And hammer him, control the ball, control the clock, and get 2 or 3 touchdowns and play great defense like we were, and we won the ball game.
You had a difficult end of that regular season. You guys lost a lot of games. There were the allegations that came out against Troy.
A lot of things.
How do you, in retrospect, how do you think you handled that situation with Troy?
Well, I don't know. I don't worry about it. I hated it. But I always regretted. I don't worry about it today. Troy and I'm gonna read you up. And I don't think Troy reminds me doing this. I want to read you the text Troy sent me. But I want to tell you that the biggest regret I had was my relationship with Troy when I was a Cowboy. If I had been hired before Jimmy, I wouldn't have brought a damn non-drafted son of a won me a national championship from Miami in here. Yeah, Steve Walsh, and try to beat Troy out and put him in front of him. You think Troy didn't swell up over that? Damn right he did. And here's Troy, the number 1 best quarterback. I told Troy, I said, he was the best quarterback throwing the football. Mechanics, everything. The ball come out perfectly accurate, spinning, the velocity. He had John Elway velocity. I remember timing him at Oklahoma. I put the speed gun on him. He threw 57, 58, 59 balls, velocity at 25-yard curls. And I'm telling you, that is a ball humming, and it's coming at you. And of course, his accuracy. When I tried to get Troy, when he wanted to transfer and all that, I called. I said, get 3. He said, get 3 schools. I told him. He said Arizona State. So I called John Cooper at Arizona State, who had been at Tulsa, who knew what he was like at Hennessy. He said, damn right I want him. Well, I called Jack Elway at Stanford, and Jack hadn't called me back yet, so I called Terry Donahue, who I knew. Terry didn't like to hang out anybody else's dirty wash, and he didn't want transfers and all that. I said, Terry, you better take this kid. He'll be drafted in the 1st round. I didn't know he was going to be a first player pick, but he'll be a 1st round pick. And you better come get this kid. You don't understand the reasons. He's not a disciplinary problem, not an academic problem. He doesn't fit the scheme we're doing now. and you need to take this kid. And after he took him, he called me. I'll take any transfer you want to send me. I won't question him. But he sent someone to work him out, which is against NCAA rules. And we worked him out, and they worked him out. And hell, yeah, the guy called back and said, "Damn right, we want him."
But you were talking about the hardest time in your relationship was the end of that season that you concluded by winning a Super Bowl. And not to be personal, but you created an expectation about a text message. If you still want to share it, if you still want to share it, that's fine. If you decide
I do.
otherwise, that's fine.
I forgot about it. I get to go rattling one way or another. I hope Troy doesn't mind me doing this, but it really meant something to me. And it meant something for him, obviously, to send this message. But I just watched the Cowboy documentary. I had just finished watching it.
Yeah.
And I happened to get a text, boom, pops up. And it says, from Troy, watching this documentary brings back a lot of emotions. I don't want to relive the past, but I want you to know I love you. I wrote him back. I said, Troy, I understand. Publicly stated, my biggest regret is not having a relationship with you when I was with the Cowboys. I know I told you the same. What that documentary showed to me that it was a physical beating you took in your career. I only got to see it over 4 years. I told those pro scouts you were the best, and which I told Troy about the Hula Bowl. So he sent me that text, and I thought it said a lot. And I've been with Troy a lot since then. I did an event. There's me and Troy and Emmett at the event we did together after been out of football and all. But no, Troy was the best, and I think I feel pretty good about my relationship with Troy now.
So let's just talk about winning that Super Bowl. You talked about how important it was from your perspective to win it for Jerry.
You bet.
But what about for you? How did it validate you as an NFL coach? You were on the field getting the trophy, hugging Jerry and saying, "We did it our way. We did it our way, baby."
People don't understand that.
Okay, explain it.
Because did it our way. It wasn't Jimmy in his way. It was mine and Jerry's way. Because I let Jerry be a part of the team. I let him be there. I didn't give a he's standing on the sidelines beside me. What the hell? I've seen other owners stand there. What the hell difference does it make? He's not going to the game and play. He's not going out there to call a play. I don't pay attention to them. I got cheerleaders on the sidelines. I don't pay attention to them. I don't pay attention to Jerry, what he's doing.
Credibility for you and the methodology as a coach that you implemented.
What we did is our way. It was a far cry from what Jimmy did. We did it our way. We didn't do it Jimmy's way. We did it our way, and got it done. Coaches win a lot of different ways. You know, there ain't no patent on how you win football games. I promise you out there.
You told me once, describing your approach to the job as, I just didn't want to screw it up. And you got to give me that much credit. I didn't screw it up. Other guys I might have hired might have screwed it up. I didn't screw it up.
Yeah. You know, I came down here, you know, like I told you, I coached at Oklahoma for 20-something years, 23 years. And every time I came south of Red River, you think those newspapers said anything positive about the University of Oklahoma. They wore our ass out every year. Oh, spy. You know, all this, Darryl Roll and all that. I never lost to Darryl Roll. You know, when I went to Oklahoma in 1966, Oklahoma hadn't beaten Texas in 8 years. 8 years had never beaten Texas. First year, we took the same players to kick their ass the next year. It's played from the neck up. The game is played from the neck up. You know,
you're wearing a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A national championship.
Yeah, we won a national championship.
Won 3 coaches.
Won 3. Yeah, we just celebrated our 85 national championship this past week. I celebrated being 88 too. That wasn't much fun.
Do you have any regrets about coaching beyond the Super Bowl winning season?
No, not at all. No, the arrow was like I said, the arrow was pointing down for the Cowboys. It was. When you lose Charles Haley and you lose Novacek on offense, Charles Haley on defense, your best pass rusher, you're not going to be as good. And I told Jerry, I'm going to head back north of the red. And he says, "You want to be a part of this press conference? You resign?" I said, "Why in the hell would I subject myself to that and go in there and let these beat up on me anymore? I'm not going to do that. I'll be north of the red when I hear about me resigning." "Now, Jerry, I think you can handle this." And he did. No, Jerry was good to me. He was, and people, I defend him all the time. People say negative things about him. Nah, it's not the Jerry Jones I know. And Jerry was a great guy to me. And you know, just take for example, I'm going to give you another example, Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, I was living in an apartment Jerry was paying for. And you're probably going to cut half this crap out.
You're talking about here in Dallas.
Yeah, in Dallas. You know, don't cut any of this damn crap out. I'll never be back here again do anything with you, Longhorn. And wearing the Longhorn jersey over for me. Yeah. But anyway, is it? I came down here and I got an apartment. Kirchhoff. Steve Kirchhoff picked out my apartment for me. I called him in my office. I said, "Kerry," I said, "I want you to go find me an apartment. I want you to think you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and I want you to go find me an apartment somewhere where a head coach would live." He said, "I can handle that, Coach." 2 weeks later, he comes back and he says, "I've got the place, Coach." He takes me to this new apartment. You know where Cool Springs is, right straight down.
Like Cool River?
Yeah, Cool River, and on down to the golf course. And oh yeah. It's brand new. It was brand new then. It's a brand new apartment complex. I went down the top floor, down to the last room, overlooked the swimming pool. But Jerry's picking up the tab on that. I wasn't paying for anywhere to live. Well, Jerry asked me, "Well, build a home. Would you please build a home and show these people you're making a commitment to be with the Dallas Cowboys?" "Jerry, for you, I'll do it." So I'm giving up a free domicile here.
Free apartment.
Oh, yeah. And to go over here to the North and Valley Ranch here is really a gated community, a nice area. And I went in there. Charlie, what was the singer? Charlie Pride's sister lived 2 houses down. He was there all the time. I used to have, after ball games, I get off the subject, I used to have it's Hank Snow, a bunch of Willie's guys come over, and they all afternoon games, and they played till 2 o'clock in the morning. And Charlie Pride would come over. We'd have that damn this time, most fun. But after I built a home. But I'll go build a home, and I'm building a home because Jerry wanted me to, but he said one day we were at camp in Austin, and I'm talking to some players and to a particular player. And I hung up, and Jerry said, "You know what, I hear you talking to your players all the time. You're always helping them." He said, "I'm going to help you." I said, "How's that, Jerry?" He says, "That home I asked you to build, I want you to get someone to furnish it and send all the bills to me." I said, "You want me to send you all the bills, my friend?" I hired a girl here.
Best designer you can find.
Yeah, I did. I turned her loose. She built out. They ran it. They put a piece in Dallas Observer or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, they'll have about 4 pages.
You don't have to feel bad about that. Jerry can afford it. The valuation of the franchise is $13 billion.
I know it. But I tell you what, he bought every piece of furniture in my home.
But it speaks to your relationship and the high regard you have for him. And,
It was all about our relationship. Yeah.
Awesome.
What an hour.
That was an hour.
An hour with Barry Switzer is unlike any other hour
Well, it
you can
goes
ever
so
spend with an NFL coach.
Really?
That was awesome. Thank you.
Well,
sir.
thank you, Ed.